Hi guys, my microphone, look, found it. Don't worry, the husband's at work. We are going to do a couple more challenge videos, but my mum arrives in 9.5 hours. No, 11.5 hours. So we might do one on Sunday, depends on how mother's feeling. Right, the video I've got for today is, I haven't decided on the title yet. I'm thinking top 5 tips for being a writer. If this is your first video, hi, I'm Simone and I'm a horror writer by trade. There's reasons behind why I'm a writer as opposed to a normal job. I'll link the video up in the iCard for you. So I have 5 books on sale, 4 of which are in print, and I also have a short in another book. These are the 4 that are in print. There's these 2 lovely books that are part of a series. This is book 1 and this is book 2. There's another 3 to this, book 3 of which I'm working on at the moment. There's this one, which is 1 of 3. As soon as I finish with book 3 on the other one, I'll start on book 2 of this. And then there is this one, which is on its own, stands alone. It's not part of the sequel. This is in print because I asked for it to be in print because the lady on the front is a good friend of mine. She's actually my best friend's daughter. So yes, I think I have a bit of experience in being a writer. I won't say I'm, the world's best writer, far from it. I'm not a bestseller, apart from I think I got into the top 100 on Amazon a couple of times with 1 or 2 of those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my top 5 tips, and then I am going to go through the basis of my process, and then in following months what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each individual process in more detail, because my plan is to do weekly podcasts. So it's like a weekly video, but every 4 weeks. It's like this week's topic will be writing, next week's topic I think I might do craft, and the week after that I might do something related to disability, and the week after that I might do something related to the internet. Do stuff like that, because there is a few things I want to say, but I'm a bit reluctant on one of them. uneasy because he can be a bit vicious, although I am slowly getting to the point where I'm like, enough is enough. That's a different video. Right, I've got my top 5 here. Now, these top 5 tips, a lot of writers will say. Some of them are pretty commonsensical, but the ones that you wouldn't think of. First one is to read a lot. By read, I mean read. If you want to stick to a specific genre, then stick to that genre and read that genre. I read horror thrillers, which is what I write, but I also read a lot of Patricia Cornwell, Cathy Wright, those sorts of books, but that's because of my background. I like murder mysteries and things like that, so although I don't write those, I do enjoy those books because it appeals to the forensics in me, if that makes sense. Read is pivotal in this, because A, you'll find if somebody else has had a similar idea, B, you'll find what works for you through reading others. I'm not saying read a book a day, not by a long shot, but read, because the more you read, the more I read, the more inspiration I get. The more inspiration I get, the more I want to create, if that makes sense. Sorry if the screen is moving. I'm trying to keep it as stable as possible. Number 2 is research. I cannot stress this enough, but you need to research your books. perfect example. Out of these 4, the one I probably had to do the most research on is this, because the main character is a doctor in a mental asylum. In actual fact, play Smith home for the criminally insane. So you can imagine I had to do research, figure out the difference between psychology, although I really should have known this, between psychology and psychiatry, and what you would have to study to be able to prescribe medicines, which is psychiatry, which is a form of a medical degree. Psychology is a PhD. Dr. Phil's a psychologist and a psychiatrist. But that's the type of research I had to do. I also had to do research in how certain crimes are dealt in areas, in particular the area which is set. I had to do research on the area because this is actually based on a real small town, but I've actually changed the name. So I had to think of the county that it was in and the county rules and everything, because it's still in the same county, it just doesn't have the same name. So whether or not you can figure that out is completely up to you. I did have to do some research on these, but that was mainly due to Wayne's trial, which was because I know lots of states in America have laws about child abuse. So I had to make sure because there is an element of child abuse in that, where the main character pulls her friend out of an abusive family life. I had to make sure that I had the information behind me on that one, that I had the legislation correct on that. So research is correct, because if you get somebody, there was a book I read where in the book one of the characters in the book finds the skeletal remains of somebody in snow that had been there for 100 years or so. That would never happen. That person hadn't done their research. Now I know this would never happen because in areas like the Antarctic, where bodies have been buried and they've been there for since the exploration of the Northwest Passage, those bodies have remained completely intact. As soon as the bodies have been submerged within that frigid environment, all decomposition stopped. And that person obviously didn't research that, so therefore they weren't aware of that. Whereas that's why I researched to the best of my ability. I'm not saying I don't get things wrong, because I probably do, but I try my best to research everything I possibly can. There are things I do get wrong, but I'm lucky that my editor picks up quite a few of them because she's America based. All my books are based in America, so they need to be translated from British English, which is what I speak, to American English, and the grammar difference and the spelling differences between the two countries, although minor, still exist. So that's number 2. Number 3, plan. This is something I will go into in a minute, into a bit further, but some people don't plan the books, which is fine. If that works for you, great. However, for me, I have to plan. I can't not plan, mainly because if I don't, I will go off on a tangent and I'll lose sight of what I'm doing. If I've got a plan, I know what chapter is about what, so that I will I'll know what to study. I'll know what research I need to do for that particular chapter, or I know what I'm going to need to write about in that specific chapter. I don't write down every single part of that chapter. I just say, I'll go through it in a minute, but I'll just say like a couple of lines that involves that chapter. Number 4, edits. Now, there is such thing as over editing, but by edit I mean you edit your book to the best of your ability, but try not to over edit. I've even through edits of your own, edits from beta reader, and edits from your editor, mistakes are still going to slip by. There's numerous times I read in a Stephen King book, I spot an error. And I'm not just talking about something that's a slight difference in spelling between the UK and the US. I'm on about like a completely different word being used. The same happens with Catherine which has come out. It happens. There's nothing that anybody can do about that. You can use all the software that you can. You can use all the editors and beta readers that you can. And you will eliminate a lot of errors. But there will be no chance or possibility of eliminating all errors. Ever. It's just not possible. It's not possible at home. At all. And number 5, beta readers. Now, for quite a few of my books, I've not used beta readers, and that was because I'm very secretive. I try not to, but me and my best friend were talking about it once, and she agreed to be a beta reader. And the first one she was beta reader on was this one. It's actually dedicated the book to her and her daughter, who's on the cover. And she's awesome because she's very much a stickler for grammar and spelling. So like, you don't need to look at the spelling, just the general grammar, and just make sure the sentences make sense. And she's like, no, I can't know. But obviously she's aware that the books are then translated into American English, so there are differences. So it's one of those things, but you need beta readers because they'll tell you if a particular chapter is going too slow, if you need to speed it up a bit, if a particular part of the book is boring or dull, they'll tell you that. That's never an issue I've had. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, those are my 5 top tips for writing and writing a book. Bear in mind, it took me 3 years to finish writing, to do the first full draft of this, but 3 years ago, not long ago, was I think it's later this month, that 3 years ago was the release of my first book. And then you've also got to remember, one sec, these 3 were all released last year. I think this one first, this one second, that one third. Because I think this one was February, this one was March, April, and this one was December. But that one's probably took the longest to complete. I started writing it December of 2009, I think. Yes, December of 2009, and it got printed last year, so you're talking 7 years. And then, like I said, that one took 2.5 years. That one only took, I think, 6 months. But that's because these ones just flow out of me, literally flow out of me. Right, my basic writing process. I start with a brief run through of the idea. It can be one or at most 2 sheets of A4, where I detail the rough events of that particular book. This is just an idea that came to me. What was I watching? I was watching Markiplier play sumo, and that gave me the idea of this. But yeah, there's this idea, which is in its beginning stages. I think I only wrote that up a couple of days ago. Then I go from that, which is the basic rundown, to... I'm not going to get too close with these because these are... let's have a look. Poison Bible Book 5. Right. I'll just give you a brief look. Hopefully you won't be able to see much detail because my camera's pretty crap anyway. But what I then do is I then do a chapter breakdown. So these is the beginning plans for the sequel to Twisted. So you've got your prologue and then a rough, bear in mind my handwriting is huge, a rough inclusion of what happens in that chapter. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and then that's how it goes. I think that book's how many chapters? 54 chapters. And I do that pretty much for all books. That's what this pile is. That's Twisted book 2, Poison Bible book 3, Twisted book 3, and then I think there's Poison Bible book 5, and then there's another couple of books which is that's a different story, and that's another book series. So that gives you a rough idea of how I do it. Now I didn't do this until just after I moved to here into this house, because I was doing a writing, well, it wasn't a writing class, it was an English class at York College. Even though I already have all my qualifications in English, I just thought, oh, I'll do another English class. And she said to me, what do you want to get out of the class? And I said, well, so I'm writing books, and I said, and I need something to help me, stay on point, finesse my writing a bit more. And she's like, right, that's fine, we can work through that. And she gave me the idea of writing down your chapters, going through your chapters, and finessing your idea from this to this to this, because these are the 3 main stages. And then obviously there's my first draft. I do it a weird way, is handwritten. This is the second book of 2 notebooks for Poison by Blood book 3, because my notes for the chapters are here. And then this gets typed up, which I am halfway through. Well, more than halfway through, because I'm up to chapter 5 on the list. Sorry, I'm up to chapter 30 on the list, and there is 51 chapters. Yeah, and there's 51 chapters, so I've got 21 chapters to do on that. But that is my basic process. Next week I'll go into more. Sorry, I've got my pile here and I keep mixing things up. I'll go through this a bit more, and why I do things in longhand. My husband hates me because I have notepads all over my bedroom. I have notebooks everywhere, and he's like, why don't you finish using that notebook? And it's like, I have to have, for a idea, 1 or 2 notebooks that are dedicated to that idea. Yeah, I'm very particular on that. But like I say, I try and keep all my bits and pieces together and all the bits of information together, primarily because I want to keep myself organised and keep my mind centred on what the plan is for each book and each series. But like I say, I'm working on Poison by Blood book 3 at the moment. I will leave my Amazon author page down below in case you wanted to check any of these out. Also, some of you may know, some of you may not, this isn't actually my name. My name is Simone, but it is not Simone Young. I have 3 names I could have possibly have used. There's my maiden name, my married name, or my pen name. Now, I didn't use my maiden name. There's a whole story behind that. It just didn't sit right. My married name can be misspelled quite easily, and Young is actually the last name of my stepfather. so it kind of fitted, because he's always been a supporter. He's always pushed me to work, to write. He's always pushed me to create. He's very good like that. He's my stepdad. He's awesome. He's got a broken leg at the minute, bless him. I am hoping to start recording with this soon, but at the moment I need some new mini USB cables, so I can't use that at the minute because I have no way of transferring it over because my mini USB cables are knackered. So I need to get some tomorrow after Mother arrives. So I will love you and leave you, and I will check in soon. Like, I'm probably going to record another video tonight, ready for next week, which will be the craft, and then we'll do it like every week. There'll be a set subject, but this is the first episode in the writing work class, workshop, whatever I decide to call it. If you've got any specific questions, any specific advice that you're after, let me know it down below. And I'll see you next week. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and share with your friends, and I will talk to you soon.